All right. Finally, a good movie.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I
how I
guess.
feel too.
That's how yeah.
I guess. I thought that this was like the start of the really good ones, and it's not bad,
No.
but it's sort of just I guess.
Yeah, I'll go into thoughts. I always say that. Well, it's leading up to all my thoughts.
Yeah, that's the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. All right,
Press the button.
let's do it.
My fingers on the keyboard had little minds of their own. I was rolling along, writing my usual scathing but civilized comments, and suddenly a sinister inner force took over, and I found myself typing, and I quote, "I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Hated every simply stupid, vacant, audience-involving moment of it," unquote, and so on. Altogether, I used the word hated 10 times.
I will make a new intro eventually.
Yep.
That one's so crusty.
Welcome to the Non-Essential Fountains podcast,
Yeah.
episode 4,
Yep. We don't have a title for it at this point.
starring Emily Ehlers and
Lyndon Ehlers sitting on the couch
sitting on the couch.
watching another movie.
Yep.
And we watched Fast and Furious. We finally broke into the good ones?
The good?
The good, the revamps,
Maybe.
the rebirths of the franchise, I guess.
Yeah, so the big deal with this one is Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Michelle Rodriguez, a couple other people also make returns to this film.
Yeah, but not as big of returns as I was thinking. And I also was very surprised about Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah,
That thing.
and I'm really pissed because she wasn't in the movie longer.
And
so
the whole time we were talking about in the other movies, and we'll start with your fun facts, but we'll just do these forwards here.
yeah,
And I was like, we were talking about in the other movies, and I was like, I really like Michelle Rodriguez. I like her in all the other movies. I mean, she's kind of typecast, but every time she pops up, I'm like, hell yeah.
she's gonna
Go
do badass
she's
stuff.
gonna be a badass. She's never not a badass.
Mm-hmm.
And she's dead within minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was telling you, don't worry, she's in all the other movies. And I apparently don't know shit. And then Han is only in it for 5 seconds. Yeah, the beginning of the movie, and I thought he was gonna be bigger. And I'm sure he comes back in the other movies.
ones.
Maybe, but I'm a little disappointed
quote
in that
you on
stuff.
that.
Okay. Yeah, just remember, I don't fucking know anything.
Now that you're not trustworthy,
I don't know anything about
and the
these
second
goddamn
film
movies.
is also the third film, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That one's for you, Danny.
We were fuck you. We were already past that. Anyways, let's go in with the facts because I didn't look anything up about this movie. You did.
I did take fewer notes this time, and I also took fewer notes for my fun facts part here. So the film is Fast and Furious is the official title. It's also known as Fast and Furious 4 because it is the fourth installment in the franchise. Not chronologically, though. It saw a release date of April 3rd, 2009, directed by Justin Lin, who also directed Tokyo Drift. So it's starring Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, and Gal Gadot's in it too, which is super neat.
Yeah, and I thought this was after or around the time she'd already been in Wonder Woman, but that was way after this already.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't I don't know what else she was in around this time.
I don't know either.
I didn't see this movie, so I was
Didn't look it
whoa,
up.
surprise, yeah.
The budget for Fast and Furious was $85 million, which is that was as much as the last one.
Was it?
I don't know. I could go look at my notes. Well, now I have to.
I actually think it's probably a little bit more, but I think, geez, I don't remember. I want to say it was
$85 million.
Really?
Exactly. For
Damn.
Tokyo Drift.
For Tokyo Drift.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
Can you guess what the box office gross amount was?
Oh no.
Well, to give you a hint, that at the time of this film releasing in the series, it was the highest grossing installment yet.
Damn. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say like 200 million.
Ooh, more.
Really?
Way more.
300 million.
More.
400
A
million.
little lower.
350 million. 3.25 million.
360.
Okay.
360.4 million box office. I don't know.
It's just
Just messing.
fun.
So in the timeline, Tokyo Drift comes after this, and so does. Yeah, because these events happen before Tokyo Drift, obviously, because Han shows up.
Well, yeah, but then like, is there still, because Han comes back later on, doesn't he? Or well, I guess you don't know. We don't know.
I don't know. I didn't look it up.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
So this was filmed in LA and the Dominican Republic. It is the first film in the franchise that was produced by Vin Diesel. Very interesting there. It saw mixed reviews from critics. They once again had praise for the action and the driving and the stunts, and it was criticized heavily for the story and the screenplay.
Weird.
Wow.
Weird that I would fully and totally and wholly agree.
Right. And there was lots of praise for the return of the OG cast.
Yeah.
It won a Teen Choice Award for something. I don't remember what. And it was nominated for other Teen Choice Awards. It did not win anything else bigger than that.
Nothing that mattered.
No. So
Nothing that people think matters.
So here's the best part of this. What else was in theaters around April 3rd, 2009, alongside the release of this film?
You told me some of these, and it's great.
So, Hannah Montana, the movie.
Which I forgot was a thing.
Dragon Ball Evolution.
Also forgot was a thing.
The Haunting in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I forgot about that.
This is an honorable mention because it was still in theaters but were released in January 2009. It would be Paul Blart Mall Cop. So,
Yeah.
Crank, High Voltage.
There we go. Yeah, that was the one that's like, and nobody, I guarantee, like, I don't know if anybody saw it or not, but I fucking love that movie.
And I think I saw 17 again and a couple other, like, there was so much stuff I don't remember.
Yeah, there was some random shit that I remember seeing titles for, but not anything.
Nothing remarkable.
I mean, Crank High Voltage is pretty fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
Have you not seen any of those?
No.
You haven't seen any of the two Crank movies? I mean, like, if I could say like a movie is like the absolute definition of like schlock, like, and it knows it, those, like, well, they're gonna go on the list. So
Anyway, one more fun fact. The Rotten Tomatoes had a critic score of 29%, audience score is 67%. And once again, both critics and audiences said stinky story, good action, more or less.
Yeah.
They didn't exactly say that.
The movie's playing behind us now, and it's the opening scene where there's the tanker truck that's rolling down the hill at him, and like the CGI, it's super badass, but the CGI looks like kind of janky.
Looks like 2009.
Kind of bouncy. Like, so right here, when this is like coming up.
Yeah, you guys just need to imagine like this giant fuel tanker just bouncing down a hill.
Because that's exactly what they do. Like,
yeah.
I was happy though. I was stoked. I mean, we were cheering.
Yeah.
Because there was like this fucking insane. And one thing I will say I really liked about this movie is like they always put like the big crazy stunt from these movies in the trailer. And that was all over the trailer, but it's in the very beginning of the movie, which I think is cool because it didn't spoil anything. Right. You know, you see it like right away. But yeah, good title, good badass cold opening.
Yeah,
for this movie.
So it was. So yeah, it opened with just the first explosion right away. The previous films didn't have a ton of explosions.
This movie's packed.
Yes, there's a lot of driving in reverse, especially in the first scene where it seemed like everybody was just driving in reverse at 120 miles an hour.
Because they're like unhitching these tankers. It's like a semi truck with like 4 tanker trucks. I don't know if they actually do that anywhere on Earth.
They do here.
Is Dominican Republic? That was in Dominican Republic.
I think, yeah.
Well, but they don't do like 4 huge tanker trucks like a regular like tractor trailer.
I don't know.
That's like a train.
Yeah,
that's what they have trains for.
Well, they did it here.
I guess it's Dominican Republic. They just have like...
This is real life.
Guys, like the crazy ass that's like, I've got to feed my family. And he like fucking drives billion tons of fuel on a cliff and gets wrecked by like these Americans driving fast cars. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Anyway, then we get the title. Then we get babes and like babe montages.
Yeah.
We see Han, who was a character in the third film for 5 seconds.
He's always, every scene he's in both these movies so far, it's just so dramatic.
He's sulking.
He's always sulking. He's always like hunched over, like, man, man, and we all love him.
I do.
I like him a lot as a character. This first half of this movie is nothing but sullen, like sad conversations.
It really is.
Like just sad, like pads behind it. Just wow. Like I wrote at some point. I was just like, this shit is sad.
It really was.
But it's I like the way it's really coming in after the first movie, like it should. Like here's the stuff that you didn't know what was going on, and right away it's like Dom, because they do this job, and Dom is talking to. This is when you first really see them like as like a couple.
So we meet Michelle Rodriguez and Vin Diesel. So Dom and Letty is her name.
The first time I learned her name.
Yeah.
In 3 movies.
Yeah, same. So they are married.
Yeah. They got married in Mexico, probably.
Probably. I'm like 90% certain the Wikipedia page said they're married.
Common law marriage in Mexico. You just go down there together.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I suppose.
Steal stuff. Yeah. You have to steal stuff together in Mexico.
You have to steal oil tankers.
Anyways. But like Dom's like, we did this job and now they're gonna the FBI or whoever, they're gonna find me, so I have to go and you can't be with me anymore. And
so they get into
they fuck on the beach on this rock. It's like really uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
And
so Dom leaves in the middle of the night while Letty is still sleeping. And then we're suddenly whiplashed into L.A. and Paul Walker comes back. Brian O'Connor.
Yeah.
And he's chasing a guy.
And
like all
FBI
parkour,
stuff.
like FBI parkour.
It's kind of
jumping off buildings.
It makes LA look like it's just this endless maze of like alleys
and buildings that are 4 feet apart.
You can like jump across them, and he's it's honestly I was watching that. And the music going on is just this generic like rock, like rock and roll, like playing. And I don't
even remember it.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking like this chase, if it had no music, would be so boring. And it just needs, but they just gave it this generic, grungy, gross action movie rock, and I hate it.
Yeah, and the camera is like...
Yeah. Well, that's also, though, I mean, you can see like you see this looks like more of a movie from the last 10 years than like the other ones did. Obviously, they were older, but I mean, like this is starting to look like a movie I recognize.
Right.
Like the camera work is like different. It's not like that kind of gross, super high color, like saturated static shots from like the first 2 movies. I'd say Tokyo Drift was a little bit better. Was a little more going in this direction. But it looks, I mean, watching it now, like it looks like a modern action movie, and this is the cool part. He slams him off the fence.
Yes, it has the Twilight filter too. Everything's like this.
It does kind of. I'm okay with it here.
Okay. Sorry, I keep calling it the Twilight filter, but the blue-green...
I don't think it's as bad. It's not so much as...
It's had a blue, like, turquoisey twinge.
It does kind of, time. Which is funny because they're in, like, L.A. right now, so it's just cloudy. But...
So Paul Walker's an FBI agent, and he's chasing this guy, and the premise of this movie is the FBI is looking for another drug dealer, and this drug dealer is named Arturo Braga.
I don't even. We were kind of talking about it when they first brought it up, and I didn't even hear why he was a criminal. I didn't even hear if he was a drug dealer or not.
Yeah, they didn't say.
Well, they probably did, but it was probably one line and it was just bang and that's it. Because it's just so generic. He's the most generic.
Well, the first line they say is like, we don't know what he looks like.
Yeah.
We don't have any fingerprints. We don't even know when his birthday is. Like, they don't
build
know
him up.
anything.
They really build him up, and I'm thinking like, oh fuck, is this like
serious?
I mean, because I'm waiting for like some villains to come up that are like reoccurring villains throughout the franchise, if that's even a thing or not.
Right.
And yeah, they really build him up, and he just like later on he just ends up being a schlub, which we'll talk about that. But like, yeah, and he hires like street racers, I guess.
Yes.
To do his work.
So you're like, this sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Weird.
It's the plot of the second film. It's the fucking plot
really is.
of the second film.
I didn't even think about it as much
That's
now.
all I was thinking about.
You kept saying it too, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess.
I was like, this is just.
Yeah. And it is.
They just took the skeleton of the second one and just put like different meat on the skeleton.
Well, you could say that this was maybe taken from like whatever was the original script of the second movie, because Dom comes in almost in the same way that like Tyrus Gibson does. Like it's almost what they probably just found that script and were like, okay.
In like a waste bin, like
yeah,
in an office.
Yeah, just some guy's like file holder, like
yeah.
Cute.
Oh, I thought you threw this out.
Oh, I thought I did too. Anyways, and he just smokes another rock.
Yeah.
It's very much so because you have to infiltrate. But the difference being is Dom and Paul Walker are not working together at first. They're both like Dom is.
They're kind of working against.
Because Aletta has died. We didn't even get to
Letty
that.
Is died.
Letty. It turns out Letty is dead. Dom's sister calls him and says Letty's dead.
We could talk about that scene here. It's really short. So, because Dom's in Panama, like gets a call that she was murdered, and then there's like this. There's the whole funeral scene too.
They don't.
Where Paul Walker sees Dom.
It all goes like that's all in like 5 minutes. It's like.
Then there's all the ominous stuff. We see Mia again. This is when Mia comes back in.
They don't even tell you how much time has passed since like Dom split from everybody.
Yeah.
Or what has happened that it's just he's in Panama suddenly and gets a call. It's like Letty's dead.
Well, that's how Mia comes back into the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's who calls him.
Yeah.
Which is Dom's sister.
Which is really the last person I gave a shit about as far as any of these old characters. She didn't even do anything in the first movie. Just was the sister.
True.
And an eyebrow. A single eyebrow.
And I made a note that she kept saying it's cursed, like the car that Letty was working on. It was like Dom's Chevelle. I think that was what she was working on.
Yeah, like they didn't really. Yeah, because she didn't. They said she didn't let him. She didn't let the cops impound it or something. As if she'd have any say in that. Like it doesn't even make sense that like Mia would still have that house.
Right.
And they probably would have like seized that house or something. Mm-hmm. Unless it was like in her name. So I don't know. I think the house is just there because of the first movie and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't matter. But it turns out Letty's been murdered is what it is. Mm-hmm. And so Dom, I don't remember how he hears about he beats up that guy in that shop, and is he the one that gives him the name?
Yeah.
And he says it's Arturo Braga.
Mm-hmm. Well, because Dom kind of does like this little detective psychic work. Like he goes...
Which is kind of a cool scene.
It is. Like he goes to like... They find the spot where Letty allegedly crashed, and he looks at like the burn marks, and you know, he's like replaying it in his head as if like he were there as it's happening.
It's very NCIS. Is it like an NCIS thing or something? It kind of reminds me of that.
It's like they astral project into the crime scene. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like the Sherlock series.
It.
He's like he's in his mind palace.
Yeah.
He's like, I see car crashes in my head.
Right.
It's really cool though, even though they don't even explain. This is the first time, if I remember right, the first time they explain how she dies, and she gets wiped. She is in a car and gets run off the road by another car and then gets shot when she's like crawling out of it. And that's the murder, which I didn't even know that was the case until we see the scene. And so Dom's after the same guy that Paul Walker is after. And we're all the way back now at the job interview / race.
Yep.
Back to the skeleton of Too Fast.
So Braga, this head honcho guy, he's looking for drivers to take stuff between the U.S. and Mexico. So it's not said what the stuff or anything is. We don't even know if it's drugs at this point.
Right.
So Dom shows up because he's going to get revenge, and Paul Walker shows up because he's the FBI.
Yep.
And they don't acknowledge each other. There's a couple other schlubs there that are...
They're just prospective thugs.
Yeah, thugs. And they have to win this race to be a part of like Braga's driving crew. So this is the first big race.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah, I was surprised to see street racing even pop up again because I thought we were done with that. Mm-hmm. How naive of me. But I mean, they worked it in fine, even though they've done it before.
I forgot to mention real quick, just backing up to the scene where Dom's beating up that guy. I need to talk about Dom holding the engine block with one arm.
Oh yeah, more car shop torture.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Well, just him, like, he stopped, like, an engine block is, like, raised, and he lets it fall.
It's on a cherry picker.
Yeah, and he starts to let it fall on this guy, and then he catches it, like, right before it, like, squashes the dude's head.
He's holding the guy down with one arm, and he catches this chain, and it's literally just the pulley.
Yeah.
Like,
it's loose.
It's loose, and he catches it, like, moving.
Yeah.
Like, you see his, like, arm. Mm-hmm. It's like Schwarzenegger Predator arm, you know,
Yeah.
And it stops it like right on his head, kind of. Yep. You know, it was good though. Stupid but good.
Yeah,
I mean, we both had to remind each other to suspend our disbelief.
I got a good chuckle at it. Yeah. So
I was just happy to see more like random torture. You know.
Anyway, going back to the first race, there's no rat buckets in this film.
There's no rat bucket.
I'm sorry.
No, that was the rat bucket.
That was the rat bucket. I guess is the engine block.
Yep.
So first big race, Gal Gadot's character issues these tablet, Palm Pilot, GPS, Garmin.
Like the one thing that made me remember this movie is 2009 was the GPS units she hands out.
And they started filming this, I think, as early as 2007.
Probably,
so it's going to be like 2007 technology.
Yeah. Well, my car is a 2009, and I know that in order to update the GPS and that thing, you have to put like a special disc into it, like a Toyota disc or something. And I've never done it, so my GPS is only up to date up to 2009 on that. So,
amazing.
Yeah, so it's funny because then they all have like a racing map in their cars then, but then it doubles as like if you get hired, it's your GPS that you get jobs from basically. So this is also like
except the GPS system looks like a newer Tempest game. It's like
grids,
like dots, matrix.
It looks like there's about to be like light bike racing.
No, because I wrote in my notes somewhere. I wrote it looks like Tempest, and it's just like lines and
it's like grid. It's kind of, I don't know. I guess it's kind of dated looking, but it's too good for what would be in a car at that time.
Yep.
You know, on a screen in a car. Like these are like Tesla level like touch pads in their cars. That shit was not like that.
Nope.
Then.
Nope.
Yeah, and it's like leading them around this race. And this race is cool though. There's like some dope wrecks that happen.
Yeah. So the GPS is just telling them where to go, and the scene gets broken up by like the GPS constantly saying like 1 mile to your destination.
Yeah.
Like 4 miles.
And of course Paul Walker gets all off course and is like having to take crazy shortcuts.
Yeah,
like
so we can
rerouting.
So most of the race we see Paul Walker is racing on a red line in the grid, and like the people that are actually on the track are on this yellow line because Paul Walker falls off the actual racetrack. So we get to see this RC Pro-Am Tempest, these cars like down this.
It's a cool. So like beyond like the race itself being cool, I was noticing things, and there was one thing is like there was like no cheesy shitty looking like CGI cars
in
this like side by side view like that stuff, There was still a couple of those overhead shots where you see him like drift a corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's CGI obviously, but it's like really quick. And it still looks kind of cool, but like there's only like a handful of parts throughout this whole movie where you can tell where you can tell. Doesn't mean they're not. You know, I don't have like an eye for that. You know, somebody that works on that stuff or anything, but it wasn't as noticeable if it was there. And the movie the driving parts look like, you know, they obviously have actual cars on the road. You know, they're doing actual stunts. You know, there's definitely a couple of actual crashes. It's not just like gunky.
Yeah,
looking.
there were plenty of explosions in this first race here, and plenty of car crashes. There was constant. I would love to use the word motif for this. There was a motif of this of cars driving under other cars, flipping out of control on fire over them.
I love it.
Yes,
I love it so much. It took me back to like watching replays on Gran Turismo or like Burnout or like a racing game. Gran Turismo is not a good example. But watching replays of your races and you wait for like wipeouts like that. Whoa, that guy went right over my car. Like, oh, that was the best. And that's what I wanted from this movie was that stuff to be ramped up. And it for sure fucking delivered that. You know, if anything, there was just too much boring shit in the middle of this. But the first race is good, and it just ends up being Dom and Paul Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dom wins
head to head. Yeah,
and Paul Walker is second. So Dom runs into him, and Paul Walker like kind of like tail spins out, and he finally gets to the finish, and he says to Dom like, "You cheated, da da da," you know. Like just being...
They've not been getting along any time they've met so far in the movie. Like that's... But it kind of goes away, and then they end up working together like right away.
Right away,
kind of. And I don't even remember how that works out.
Well, it's because in this club scene here, this is the Braga exposition scene where I thought that we were going to like learn something about like this bad guy that we're looking for who we don't know who he looks like, what he looks like, or his date of birth.
I think this doofus, this dorky little schlub. So at first I think he's Braga. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I was led to believe at first, and then we find out no, he's not. He's it's not that we find out. I'm just realizing, like he's not. He's just supposed to be another, like the second in command to this guy. And then so here we are, and they're at this, then they're talking about it.
Right. So, and this club, by the way, is in a garage once again. It's not like, you know, an actual...
There's like a garage underneath. Dom just gets down there somehow.
Yeah, Dom gets down there and he's looking at Braga's cars. Well, Braga, who says he's not Braga yet. And
yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense why there are cars down there. I think they're Gal Gadot's cars, actually.
Yeah.
I do think, because I don't know. I don't remember him mentioning anything about cars or driving. He just hosts races.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
It was very confusing at this point, and I hadn't looked at the Wikipedia page.
The only thing I was really confused about with this movie, which is a good thing, was the villain.
Yeah.
The whole time. And I was thinking it was going to end up actually being Gal Gadot, because she's just kind of in it, but her only job is to try and fuck Vin Diesel.
Yeah, so there's the scene after the club scene where she's like super simpy, gross, like all over him. You know, keeps asking him like, "What kind of women do you like?"
It's weird.
And then he basically just describes Letty, and she replies, "Oh well, I'm none of those things." And he's like, "Yeah, you're not." And he just like, you know, runs into her shoulder and like pushes her out of the way. Like
he kind of pushes her aside. Mm-hmm. Well, then that scene was happening, and I kind of joked. I was like, "Isn't this still about him getting revenge for his wife?"
Yeah,
you know, because I was like, he kind of made it seem like he was gonna be into it, and I'm just stupid and just thought that's where the movie was gonna go. And he's like, "No, I've got my own thing to worry about kind of stuff. That was cool. But like anytime she's on screen with him, that's what's going on. It's like
yeah, she's
in his
the
face,
like the quippy eye rolly, like I need to crane my neck a weird direction
I
every
mean,
time
at
I
least
look at you.
she's really the only person that's doing that in this movie, as opposed to like everybody.
I know Mia does it too. She just did it there, that awkward like
Okay,
crane your neck like this when you want to
Yeah.
look confused or worried. You guys know what I'm talking about, just like that but you know, break your neck more. So
She doesn't do anything in this movie that I remember. God, I only had 3 pages.
So yeah,
of
Dom
notes.
ain't having it. Then we cut to a scene where Paul Walker is at work, and then his Garmin iPad goes off. So after the first race, I should say, these Palm Pilot things, everybody was issued, or I guess Dom and Paul Walker
Yeah.
at this point were issued. If they go off and say, and they have like a thing that just says destination da 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 on the screen. So that means that Braga has some kind of delivery or pickup, and like,
They just have to go.
They
and
have to
get
just
it.
go and get it
Yeah.
like right away.
Which I did. Why is Paul Walker doing it still? Because he lost the race, right? Or was it like first and second place?
I don't know. I guess. Who
Like, why
cares?
does he get involved?
Who cares? Well, I guess.
Or does he just get pulled in? He gets pulled in after Vin Diesel ends up with like all those drugs.
Or Vin Diesel says like, "Oh, well, we could use him for some reason." I don't think that even happened. I don't know.
Remember, because it gets
Don't
kind
know.
of weird. It gets kind of fuzzy after that race. Because then Vin Diesel goes off with the other drivers, and they go through that crazy tunnel.
Yeah, the cool tunnel scene. So first of all, the Garmin, it says that they have to like go and drive to Mexico, and like they have to like go through like all like this very complicated tunnel system in which like our border patrol
It's-
can't like satellites can't see
it's
them.
just like this whole timing thing.
There's no cell phone reception or like any kind of reception there, and that's the only way they can get in smuggling all this stuff. It's like a very, and Gal's like, you stray off this very line, like you'll get caught. So it's like you have to be perfect, and very dramatic.
It was, and I kind of spaced off while they were explaining that, I guess. Just remember that tunnel they drive through. It's impossibly narrow.
Well, the
and
day for night.
twisty. Oh, well, yeah, the day for night. Oh,
I know you didn't want to forget about that.
I
for the
did. I
tunnel.
didn't even write it down because we just kept talking about
I
it.
put little stars next.
Yeah, because
to it
they're out
my
in the
notes.
desert, and it's. I mean, I'm like 90% sure it's day.
It's
for
day
night,
for
'cause
night.
It looks like it, which a lot of movies do still. It just looks better, or it's not as obvious. I don't know. I'm again not an expert, but yeah.
So it's day for night because their faces were so shiny. And
Very
it's like, oh yes,
brightened.
the
Yeah.
moon is making them sweaty. So
Well, they didn't have their headlights on. I guess they got to stay covert.
yeah.
But geez.
You also don't need them when it's actually daytime.
Yeah. They go into this tunnel and it's all like
It's
windy and curvy.
It's as
and
big as a vehicle. Is
Yeah,
like the
it's
tunnel size.
so,
That's how
like,
short it is. That's how wide
they're
it is.
going like 70 miles an hour through this tunnel. You crash
way.
in seconds, and it's super long. And I wrote down it's the Temple of Doom tunnel because they go back later and there's a chase through it again. So there's actually like a proper kind of payoff to that as they go back and they have like a really like awesome chase. That's when
Right.
the tunnel's cool. I thought this is the only part I had a problem with as far as the effects goes, is it looked that was mostly all CG cars because it just is so insane.
Yeah.
There's like no way you could drive that. This doesn't make any sense.
Well, and it went on like this tunnel was
There's like all these
more
different
than
sections.
more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound very long, but when it's cars and you're led to believe they're going like 80, 90 miles an hour
they're
through this
flying.
tunnel, and they've been doing this exact same thing for 5 minutes. How fucking long is this
Yeah.
tunnel that we've
Yeah,
been
it's-
going this fast
and
through
it seems like it's super dangerous, like because those tunnels can just
There's
collapse.
yeah,
and
the
you have like
explosives all over them, just laying around.
boxes of TNT
They
like on
just
one end of the tunnel.
stamped on like Acme.
Yeah,
might as well.
which is another good like setup and payoff for
Mm-hmm.
later. But like, it's so crazy. And there's like 6 cars in it this first time, and then later on there's like 20 different cars driving through in this one chase scene.
Yeah.
You know, it's so crazy.
Well, it's also suddenly 2 lanes, which I don't remember the first time they drove through it was a 2-lane
Yeah, there's
tunnel.
there's a part later on the like near the end of the tunnel where it is like the poles in the middle and there's 2 different sides.
Yeah.
And then that ends where like the TNT is because everybody ends up side by side, and then there's only space for one car to squeeze through at the end. And I don't know, it's cool though. But then they go and they get to this drug deal they're supposed to do, right? It's like Dom and like the other thugs, and Paul Walker ends up there or is there with him. Right?
Yep.
He's there during the first tunnel part too.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even that was what I was wondering, why he was there. He got the job also, I suppose.
Well, yeah, they both got that notification. They both showed up. There were also other thugs there because when they got there, they all got out of the cars and it looked like they were about to be shot. Because that was just the Braga's customary thing. Like, drivers deliver stuff and then he just kills them and doesn't.
I guess I didn't catch that part. I was really confused about what was going on.
And I only knew that, like, an hour later when we saw it explained why Letty died.
Yeah.
Because she was involved in something like that and Braga just killed them all.
It comes out later that she was working with Paul Walker
to try and capture
Braga. To catch him to clear Dom's name. So this the whole her getting murdered thing kind of ends up being Dom's fault, at least he looks at it like that.
Right.
And but this fucking drug deal, this whole thing, there's explosions, Dom blows up a bunch of cars. It was pretty cool with like the cigarette lighter thing and like the NOS.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple quotes here.
Yeah. Okay.
Where with the scene with Dom and Paul, and they like get the goods and they're hanging out with Mia and they're being family.
Right before that,
happy face.
The drug deal part's where we find out it's who killed Letty.
Yeah,
because he's there, the Phoenix guy, which is a guy we've already met. It just ends up being him.
Oh yeah, henchman Phoenix.
Yeah,
kills Letty. So what happened was during that delivery, this Phoenix guy shoots everybody, but Letty gets in her car and she starts driving away.
Right.
And so that's where we go back to Dom's astral projection into the crime scene.
His reenactment.
This is what
again.
we see is Letty escaping from this, from getting shot initially, but then she ends up dying anyway, unfortunately.
Yeah. Man, there's so many things that happen in this, even though it's like the shortest movie out of all of them.
Yeah, and the story is so complicated, but it's just still so shallow at the same time.
Shallow is the best way to describe it, because
and they have like all these little, I wouldn't even call them twists and turns, or just little noodles.
They are little noodles. Like, I don't care.
There's no plot twist.
Yeah, it's not even a twist. Yeah, it's like it's a cinnamon twist from Taco Bell. I don't. Every time something is revealed, it's like, oh. Like, I literally said that at one point when it turned out that this fucking schlub the whole time is.
I wish I knew this 37 minutes ago.
You could have just told me and it would have made no difference.
Could have saved some time.
Like, I at least appreciate that they tried, but man, they just didn't try hard at all with that stuff. It was just, I just went, oh, it's him. And so there's that, and then so now we have we're gonna bargain with Braga.
I wanted to talk about the family part a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Get our first.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So before that, we get kind of like not quite a montage, but we have Dom and Paul are hanging out with Mia, and they're in Mia's house, the Fast and Furious party house,
the old FAF house,
the dumpy house,
FAF house. It is a pile of shit house. I mean, I appreciate they don't live in a mansion yet.
And Brian and Mia are starting to hit it off again, and then this is where they start dating again, and they rekindle that relationship
in the same kitchen.
That
was kind of a fun callback, I guess.
And Brian says, I wrote this quote down. He was all like, "Nothing matters unless you have a code." Like, your brother taught me that.
We don't get
Solid Snake.
Your brother taught me that.
CQC.
You got the eyes of a rookie.
It's just my default edgelord voice.
We don't get It's All About Family yet in this one.
No, but we have a code.
But it's building to that.
Yeah.
Your brother has a code.
Yeah, that was one quote, and I also wrote down, just like old times, in all caps, for that is the bargain that you were going to talk about. Whereas Dom and Paul Walker agree to try and swindle Braga for their own gain.
Yeah, he wants to.
So everybody wins.
They want to sell him back the drugs that they end up with after that failed, or that drug delivery, and they're like, we're only bringing it back if Braga shows up.
Yeah. So the conditions are Dom and Paul Walker have $60 million of drugs, and if Braga wants that back, Braga has to present himself there along with $6 million. So the caveat being, we don't know who Braga is at this point, even though like we both kind of assume he's the schlub henchman guy. The film has not revealed that yet, so that's the big
again. I
twist.
was like, it's going to be Gal Gadot. It made sense to me because why is she here otherwise?
Right.
Turns out no fucking reason, because she's Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
And because I would have been fine with that. Like,
that would have been cool.
That would have been cool. Like, she's secretly like
running the
show like the whole time,
like slinking around.
That's why she's slinking around Dom
Yeah.
and trying to get in his fucking, get his dick in, or probably she would have cut it off or something gross like that. Who knows?
Wow.
Yeah, but no, they don't do that. It's just this fucking doofus who we don't care. I don't care that he's the villain.
Right.
He's not a villain even. He's just this kind of ugh.
So I will get to my thoughts on Braga here, but
Okay.
the final scene. So Braga presents himself to Dom. Well, that sounds like really dirty if I put it that way. He's presenting himself. Well,
they
No. I'm going to stick with that.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
he presents himself to Dom and Paul Walker. And he tosses the bag. It's just an old fart gets out of a limousine, and he's like, I have half of your money here. And then Dom and Paul get all squinky eyed, and they say, this ain't Braga.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's not him.
And it's really, I think it's kind of really obvious because they're kind of building up to it, and there's this whole like the cops are watching it, and they're like, we're running prints, we got a match on the prints, but you kind of already know it's not going to be, him.
So it's not him. And the FBI show up untimely, and they try to like tackle this old man. And so then Braga, the real Braga, which turns out to be Schlub Dude,
which they
gets
just
away.
revealed there for some reason. It's like, it's him.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh,
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
So then
let's move on.
Yep. So now we're getting in a chase for Braga. Well, Paul Walker gets a hold of him somehow, like they crash.
Yeah, he like grabs him and he throws him into his car with him somehow.
Yeah, I
didn't
write that down, and I don't remember. It couldn't have been that remarkable.
I was done.
Well,
I was done with notes by this point.
Well, the only thing I made fun of was because Braga was just sitting in the passenger seat in Paul Walker's car, and I was just like, "Oh, you think he has the child lock on that? Like, just like I can't get out now."
Because it didn't look like he was cuffed or anything.
He was just sitting there with the seatbelt on, like not gonna dive out. That's why I said there's a child lock on the door. Just can't leave. And the whole time that Paul Walker is driving, so they have to drive back through these tunnels they got here in. Yeah. So now we see the tunnels from the other direction. And I wrote the boys trademark are now chasing them. Braga's boys are now after them.
I think they're going the same direction as they did last time.
Well, because I didn't think so. Because
the same parts of the tunnel show up in the same sequence.
Well, I didn't think so because the FBI was like, oh, Braga's out of our jurisdiction. We need to get him back across the border, which is why I assumed they have to bring him back to the U.S.
You might be right. That makes more sense because I have no explanation on my end.
There's a lot that went by too quickly and a lot that wasn't covered, I'm
so ready. I think after this movie, there's no more cop stuff. I think it's all because Paul Walker's with them now. Because I'm so tired of cops in a fucking semi-trailer, go now. wait, no, don't go. Oh gosh, all dang it, all this like extra stuff going on.
Yeah. So I mean, the chase through the tunnel. So I just want to go back to that real
cool.
quick. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I was,
It was fun.
I was locked on.
I was like waiting
TV.
for like, claustrophobic tunnel like crashes and you get
yeah.
those.
Ugh,
yeah.
rough.
And there's way more cuz you have like Paul Walker.
There are plenty of
in
claustrophobic tunnel crashes, by the way.
Paul Walker in front being chased by Phoenix by Letty's murderer guy, and then Dom is way behind in like in the fucking Charger or Chevelle. Is it a Chevelle? Right?
Is it?
He rebuilt.
I don't remember.
He finished rebuilding it, and he's getting chased. He's got like 10 cars behind him. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a 2-part race because like Paul Walker's part of the chase is already done, and we go back to Vin Diesel. There's all these kind of wrecks in this tunnel. It's super cool. I'm into it. Was there anything?
Well, I mean, you covered all this stuff I super liked about it. Me being a claustrophobic person.
Yeah.
Like that's very tense to watch all that. So
I was looking at you during that, and you're just like, you're going, yee.
Yeah, so they make it out of the tunnel, and they have Braga, and then Phoenix makes it out of the tunnel.
There's
right?
like they violently crash. They both crash out of the tunnel because it's like collapse.
Phoenix runs into him and they crash, and then Braga starts to crawl out of Paul Walker's car, and like Phoenix helps him, and then it looks like Phoenix is gonna shoot Paul Walker, but then we have Dom just out of the tunnel. And this, how could I forget this scene? So Dom just starts speeding up towards him.
Well, like the tunnel's collapsing behind him, which is super cool.
As well. So tunnel is collapsing behind him. Phoenix is trying to shoot Paul Walker, and then you have Dom racing towards Phoenix. And Phoenix tries to dive out of the way. Paul Walker grabs his foot. And Dom just smashes his ass against Paul Walker's car. Like he's like torn in half.
It's brutal. It's brutal. And I loved that. I loved, my favorite part about it was because Paul Walker's on the ground, and like you see Phoenix kind of tries to shoot at Dom for a second, and then he's gonna jump out of the way.
He shoots a couple rounds.
And then you see Paul Walker grab his ankle and just holds him there, and he gets fucking flattened by this car, and it's so cool.
Yeah, because I should add, so Phoenix was standing like directly like against Paul Walker's like wreckage, like leaning against it. So Dom smashed him into like another car. Very brutal.
That's good. Mm-hmm. It was I was expecting to be let down by that final confrontation, because they build it up so much,
right?
Or at least try to. And
we
was not.
We were both like,
yeah. I both looked at you. Were like, oh. I mean, not the craziest thing I've ever seen, but like these movies are definitely ramping up at this point.
Yeah, anytime I react like that, like to any movies in this series, it's just out of endearment. Like, oh yeah,
well, because it's
so
schlock.
Endearing.
It's still schlock.
Endearing schlock.
Yeah, like I can't. I'm not looking for any more emotional reactions out of this movie beyond it's just that sometimes they're really dumb and you don't even get that.
Right. So some final thoughts here. So with Braga,
the end, the end. Is that what you're going to get to? Yeah, because
crap, I almost forgot. Yeah. So the most important part here, Dom is taken into custody. What a siren coming up.
That's what we get for doing it with the window.
It's been going on for like a minute.
Fucking fire trucks are so rude. So, anyways, go ahead.
So Dom gets taken into custody, and they're at his trial right now. Oh, not right now, literally. I don't know why I said that.
Well, that's where we're at in the movie.
Oh, yeah. So they're at his trial, and the judge says, well, you did like an amazing thing helping like stop this criminal and everything, but this one good deed does not absolve you of all the other crimes you've committed.
Paul Walker like appeals for him and everything and is like trying to get him off.
And the judge sentences Dom to 25 to life.
25 years.
It was not to life? Was it 20? No, my bad. It was like 20 to 25.
it's
without
just
a
it's
chance of parole.
yeah,
or
with no
something.
parole. It's like you're going to jail for 25 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's a lot of time, and it's really funny because it's so depressing. And then obviously, like, we get to the part where he's being bussed off to somewhere.
In an orange jumpsuit, he's being bussed off, desert highway. And then in the distance, we see the gang trailing the bus.
Well, it was like you knew it's coming because it's like, what are we just going to see?
Well, because like they're coming up over a hill.
Yeah.
And then you just, it's going to
See
happen.
the 3 cars coming
up.
Oh, it's...
And Paul Walker, Mia, and the 2 other guys that were with Dom for 5
the 2
seconds.
Dominicans.
Yeah, so they're all going to bust him out of the bus.
It was awesome. That's I think, I might be wrong, but I think the next movie opens up on that part.
That'd be cool.
I might be wrong.
I
But
don't
also
know.
Paul Walker
Probably.
must be done being a cop at this point.
Yeah,
He
you
seems
probably have to be
have-
fired out of the FBI if you're going to break a man out of prison. Although
Yeah,
I don't know how the
because-
FBI works.
I
FBI, chime in the comments.
It feels like, I don't know, can you just quit? Like, does he just quit? Did he just tell him I'm done?
Well, he
Does it work like
did at one point. It's like they said, "Oh, you're under review for breaking the rules."
Oh, yeah. Well, he's
suspended.
he was already in trouble.
So, I mean, I guess if you're already in trouble with the FBI, like, sky's the limit.
I guess so, yeah.
Like, who cares?
Whatever.
At that point.
I guess I'll quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and all these people know how to disappear, so that's fine. I guess that's where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it was a fun ending. That was
It was good.
A lot of, like, things that I can complain about this movie were kind of overshadowed by that end. I didn't expect it. I was kind of expecting it to end abruptly out in that desert, after the one guy gets flattened.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was better. It made me more excited for, like, the next one.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Well, I wanted to talk about Braga as a villain here.
Okay.
Because I know this whole time you've been griping and groaning,
Yeah.
and I somewhat agree, but I think that his schlubby, klutzy nature actually fits.
Okay.
So, and reason being is, think about how just like shallow everything is, like the entire story itself, the way everybody carries themselves.
Yeah.
We're seeing things like crates with like TNT stamped on them, and like super almost like Looney Tunes-esque scenes of just
Crash
like
Bandicoot.
desert highways
It's
and like
Crash
stunts.
Bandicoot.
Yeah. So I mean, it just him like not taking himself seriously. I think I got less annoyed and started to find it more refreshing at the end when he kept joking with Paul Walker. Like when they were driving, they're like, "You don't know where you're going."
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Who is this guy? Like,
I guess it is better than. It's a lot better than like Cole Hauser in the second movie when he's always like.
well, yeah, and he took himself like so seriously.
Yeah, and we didn't.
We didn't. No.
Like at least with this guy, he's kind of a clown.
It was very self-aware.
I don't. Yeah.
Even if it didn't know it was self-aware, it was self-aware.
It was self-aware without being
It's
self-aware.
recursively self-aware.
Well, I think like if he would have been funnier, if he would have been like had like legitimately funny moments other than just being like a travesty of a character in my eyes,
Yeah, without a fashion sense.
Yeah,
too.
well, yeah, jeez. But again, just very generic, It was like probably what they had originally intended in the old script. They ripped all this from anyways,
Yeah, I just mean the cartoony stuff I can give a pass to
Sure.
on this.
Yeah.
As generic as it is, if it took itself like too seriously, I probably would have liked it less.
I would even say that guy is kind of the physical embodiment of this movie's attitude.
Yeah.
He's kind of, whatever.
It's 2009.
It's same fucking movie, same story. Fuck it. We got Vin Diesel now. Everybody's still kind of sweaty.
Yeah. So this was just the second film, but without Rat Bucket and a little bit better.
It was definitely better. Is it the best one so far? I don't know. No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Did you have a rating? Did you come up with a grade?
Well, I mean, the action, I would say, was really nice, but another drawback here, now that I'm done talking about Braga, is this movie was not about street racing. And everything, in the plot that you all just spent an hour listening to, obviously a drawback of this street racing movie in particular is that it is not about street racing.
There is street racing in it, but yeah, that's not the focal point.
Not like Tokyo Drift was.
It's the same thing as the second movie, just like you said. The street racing is simply a vehicle for the story and only part of it.
Yep, it opens pretty much just like the first movie with them chasing a trucker, and the plot follows the second film pretty closely. Yes.
It's much better, though.
I agree.
That aside, because it is very obvious, and I'm sure you could take, movies that are from completely different franchises and set them side by side and be like, look at how similar these are. Look at how it's the same skeleton of movie.
Right.
So that doesn't kill anything for me. I didn't even notice it at first. That's how brain dead I was at the very start of this movie. Because I didn't even put that together until
the first thing I thought.
Until you mentioned it, and then not even until we started talking about it, I was like, "Wow, it really is like the same fucking movie." And that's okay. Because
I thought they did that on purpose. Just to, because the original cast is back, so they opened
I
it
suppose,
like the first film.
it makes sense. And it's... They could have did anything. And I think Vin Diesel being in it helps. I probably wouldn't have been on board at that point. Mm-hmm. We would have watched it anyways, but... That made sense. The story, I wasn't really confused other than a few small things with the villain and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue I thought was a little bit better in this. It was, I guess it aged a little bit better than the stuff from before 2006.
It's another one of the things where I say it reminds me more of a modern movie than the other ones did.
Definitely.
Like, it is more... Yeah, I recognize this more so. I don't feel like I was in high school when this came out.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
Everybody does not talk in quips.
Oh,
which was very refreshing.
There's actual dialogue. Real things. People say things that mean things.
Yeah, and it's not just all eye rolls and everything.
It's not constant eye fucking beyond Gal Gadot. I'm sure that was her purpose in the movie. But
yeah, Vin Diesel, quit simping on me.
Yeah.
That was refreshing too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the things it does right and it does well. It made a huge difference. It was good.
Go ahead.
I think though I don't know. I probably still have to give it the highest rating out of everything so far. I think I have to give it a B.
Solid
B?
B?
It a B. Like a solid B. B for boring. Mm-hmm. Not that it was like the action stuff was good. Like, the boring stuff though was so boring. Like, the middle of the movie just kind of slogged. I'm like,
right.
I didn't care what happened to the villain. I didn't necessarily care what happened to, the characters either. Beyond, it was sad when you find out that Letty is dead. Mm-hmm. And, I was legitimately bummed because I liked that character. And I was like, damn, disappointed. Mm-hmm. Dom, there's no real reaction from him beyond, being mad. But you don't see him, cry about it or anything.
Yeah,
should I expect that? I don't know.
It was the super manly man car man
grimace.
Man. Men don't emote.
But
in 2009.
But I was entertained. Like, I mean, I feel like my notes are going to be less and less as these movies go on. If they do get better, you know, it wasn't as good as I expected it to be, for sure. I thought it was going to be better. But when things started happening, you know, I realized it could have been way worse. I was definitely entertained.
Yeah. I mean, my rating would be about the same. I actually might give this... I think I gave Tokyo Drift a good B. I gave it a B.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I haven't been writing mine
but
down.
I guess if I had to rank the fourth movie against the other movies, I would probably go for my favorite one so far would be Tokyo Drift, the third one. This would come second.
Yeah.
First one would come third, and the second one would come last. As of right now.
I'd mimic exactly what you said.
So, and I put it there, and Tokyo Drift is still going to take that first spot despite its story being, like, I guess, even written more poorly than this one, simply because it was about street racing. So this is the only film so far about street racing, you guys.
I love that. I just love how...
We're 1 for 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that's what I don't want. I want less street racing, and you're looking for more of it. And I think that's
well, that was
interesting.
so much fun, and it's like colorful.
Tokyo Drift, it was fun.
And it's just, you know, the colorful, like, eye crack, it made up for, like, how hokey and, like, quippy everyone was. And I look back on it now, and I don't feel as annoyed as I did when I was watching it. Like, if I were to go back and watch it right now, I'd be so pissed off and upset at, like, all the dialogue.
Probably,
and, like, oh, my God.
Yeah, you have to wait a few years before you watch that movie.
But, like, when I remember it, I only think of the street racing scenes, and I'm like, oh, that was super cool.
And I think that stuff will still hold up. That'll definitely be a movie I'd watch again if it's, like, I'm doing something around the living room, I'm working on the computer or something, and I just feel like putting a movie on.
Right.
You know, and if it's free or something, it's like, Tokyo Drift. And I probably won't really watch it. But I wouldn't do that with any of the other movies. This one, I probably wouldn't watch again. I feel like I don't need to.
No, I don't either.
You know? Like, if I want to look up one of the crashes on YouTube, I'll do that. But this is not one I'll watch again either. I feel like that one's coming. But I don't know which one it is beyond Hobbs and Shaw, because that's the only other one I've seen.
Yeah.
Beyond, you know, from here.
Yeah. So right now, I think the only one I'd rewatch, you know, and in passing, just, you know, to toss it on the background would be Tokyo Drift as well.
What was your literal rating? You gave this one a B? B flat?
Like a B flat. Go with that. No B sharp this time. B flat.
Yeah, it could have been way better, and I think... Honestly, like, I liked the last chase in the tunnel, but I was really hoping for a little bit crazier of a climax for the movie. You know, if there would have been a little bit more chase after that, and then there's the wreck in the desert and all that stuff, I would have liked that a little bit better. But honestly, you know, it could have been way worse considering when this came out. And I remember them announcing that there was going to be a new one, and everybody's like, oh, it's going to be fucking, like, shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be so shit. And then that first trailer came out, and it actually looked really cool. Didn't watch it till now.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with it. But, yeah, I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that somebody watch it if you're doing some shit that we're doing.
Yeah, if you want an NCIS episode with, like, a lot of really cool looking cars, this is the movie.
I think that's a little harsh.
No.
That's you know what you said about Too Fast.
Well,
and I fully agree there.
You know, I was going to give it a B, and then, yeah, it deserves a B flat. Not even, it deserves an A sharp.
Really?
Like a quarter tone. Between A sharp and B flat.
Like
right
I don't
in the middle. We're just descending down the scale.
This didn't look like a USA series. You know, in 2003. Like Too Fast did. This felt like a real movie. It's tropey still. It's cliche. Everything that happens in this movie you have seen beyond like some of the crashes and stuff.
Because Tokyo Drift keeps that solid B. So
Yeah, I might end up giving Tokyo Drift a different rating by the time this, because I feel like when we're done,
The more
I
see, the lower my rating is for the second movie.
Yeah, no,
like,
for
it's
real.
Like, it's like, oh, it was C minus, D, T minus.
Everybody owes Tokyo Drift an apology. Like,
right
so
now.
hard. I mean, I will do it now officially. Tokyo Drift, I apologize.
I apologize
Your
as well.
main character still sucks. And Lucas Black is probably not a very
Donkey
good actor.
Kong.
But yeah, like the rest of you, good movie. Too Fast, Too Furious.
No.
I hope you never talk to your dad. Like, yeah. Anyways, that's Fast and Furious number 4.
Yep.
What is the next one now? Is
Fast 5.
Fast 5?
Yep, 2 syllables. Can
The
you
2
remember
syllables. Yeah.
that? Okay.
I mean, apparently not, because I've heard the title plenty of times, but I cannot remember which ones are which in terms of like how they.
Right.
Which I like that. I like how they do the titles. You know, it's just a play. Like they just juggle the words around and be like, this one's just
I
F8,
like it too. Yeah.
F9, Fast X. For the next one's gonna be like what? Like Fast 22 minus 11.
It's gonna like just be like a calculus problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's just they're gonna keep going.
It can cause fast 3.143869 off into infinity.
Yep. Fast pie.
But yeah, so that's it. That's this one.
That's all I got.
I don't know how to end these always. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, because that's where, well, if you're here, you're either listening to it on YouTube or Spotify as things are now. So make sure you're subscribing and all that. And if you haven't listened to the earlier episodes, you should.
If you want.
But you should. We're kind of intending this to be a series, and then once we get through these, we haven't wholly decided what we're gonna do after that, but it will.
We have ideas.
Well, we're gonna do some one-off episodes in the future, but for the next like we want to do another movie franchise, and we have a couple ideas written down.
Yeah, there's a lot I want to do, because we've been watching a ton of the classic Iron Chef, and there's a ton. I have things I want to say about it, and I don't know where it would fit in this podcast. And it would
We're just gonna do a one-off Iron Chef episode.
As it stands, it
sooner.
requires a little more research than I anticipated.
Yeah, because you had to order a book.
I had to order a book.
Because you ordered literally
the Iron Chef Encyclopedia. It's 320 pages of recipes, and it has like bios of all the chefs, and I need it. I need it.
All right, everybody. Well,
thank you for listening.
If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. And we will be back.
Have a wonderful night or day or morning.
Or timeless void.
Yep. Goodbye.